Hey everybody, Jason Newman here. And let me ask you guys this. Do you all know what a bootstrap paradox is? In sci-fi, when an object or a person gets sent to the past and becomes the cause of its own existence, it ends up leaving its origin unknown. That's a bootstrap paradox. The MCU has four of these that I'm aware of. In Loki season 2, Loki is time slipping all over the place, and he time slips into the future where the Loki that we've been following, well, I'll call him present Loki, realizes he has to be the one to prune his past self so that he can continue to exist, thereby creating a closed loop.
I promise you this will make sense.
In that same season, we learned that OB wrote the TVA guidebook.
You wrote the TVA Handbook.
Well, yes, I did.
And he wrote it based on the works of Victor Timely.
But I learned everything I know from a brilliant 19th century inventor named Victor Timely. What did you say your name was?
Victor.
However, when we do a flashback to young Victor Timely, he is mysteriously given a copy of OB's book. And that is how he is able to amass all of the scientific knowledge that he has that OB studies and makes a book about.
If your work is based on his work and his work is based on your work,
Exactly which came first.
It's like a snake eating its own tail.
In Miss Marvel, Kamala travels back to the partition of India and encounters the child version of her grandmother, who is lost. So she ends up creating a trail of stars that leads her back to her father. Kamala's family can only exist because her grandmother was saved by Kamala, who traveled back in time to save her grandmother, who then had Kamala, who traveled back in time. You see how this is working? My favorite one in the entire MCU is in Endgame. Tony travels back to 1970 and meets a younger version of his father, Howard. They interact and they're getting ready to part. And right before they do, Tony says, "You know, my dad would drop the occasional pearl of wisdom." And he quotes to Howard the quote his dad said when he was a kid.
No amount of money ever bought a second of time.
Never mind that this quote is spoken by a billionaire who spent a fortune making a fully functional time machine. Never mind, not important, not important. Howard reacts as if he had never heard that quote before.
Smart guy. Did his best.
So presumably he will then remember that when Tony is a child, and he'll say it to Tony, who will grow up to travel back in time and repeat it to his dad as his dad learns it for the first time. Hence, bootstrap paradox. So the reason I'm telling you this is because I think it would be kind of fun if there ends up being a fifth bootstrap paradox in the MCU. So by now, according to the teaser, we now know that Avengers Doomsday is going to feature Steve Rogers. If you didn't already know, sorry. The teaser heavily implies that Steve is going to be living with Peggy and their child somewhere circa late 1940s, 1950s-ish. At the end of Endgame, we saw the one and only Captain America shield get cleaved down to about half by Thanos. We also saw Steve travel into the quantum realm, carrying with him a case with the Infinity Stones and Mjolnir, and definitely no shield. Then a short while later, almost immediately later, we see old man Steve on a park bench, and he exchanges some words with Sam and presents Sam with a brand new Captain America shield. Wouldn't it be something if in Avengers Doomsday, Steve joins the fight and Sam, being the current Captain America, lends Steve his shield, or Steve somehow otherwise obtains the shield. Does the battle, at the end, hangs on to the shield, keeps it safe in his possession until he's an old man, at which point he gives it back to Sam when he presents it to him for the first time in Avengers Endgame. If Marvel did something like that, go back and watch that scene. It would give much more weight to the dialogue exchange when Steve asks Sam,
How does it feel?
and Sam says,
Like it's someone else's.
and Steve says,
It isn't.
I mean, come on. But we will just have to wait until December to find out with everybody else. Take care.